what is actually dangerous but people still believe is safe. Story 1. We've turned exhaustion into a virtue signal. Grinding, hustling, running on fumes, as if being constantly tired means you're important or disciplined. In reality, lack of sleep erodes almost everything that makes someone function well: judgment, emotional regulation, impulse control, empathy. People don't just get tired, they get worse at being human. What makes it dangerous is how subtle it is. You don't feel yourself getting dumber or less stable in real time. Your brain is the thing evaluating itself, and it's the thing being impaired. Reaction times drop, risk-taking increases, mood disorders worsen, memory fragments, metabolism breaks. Long-term sleep loss is linked to dementia, cardiovascular disease, depression, things that don't show up until years later, when the damage is already done. And like so many other problems, the system rewards it. Jobs punish rest. Schedules ignore biology. People with the least power get the least sleep. Then we blame individuals for burnout as if it's a personal failure instead of structural neglect. What's unsettling is that sleep is one of the few things every brain absolutely needs to remain sane, and we treat it as optional. A society that glorifies exhaustion is one that benefits from people being slower, more reactive, more compliant, and easier to push past their limits. Story 2. Wild animals aren't aggressive or friendly in the way humans think. They're reactive. Every movement you make is read as a signal: threat, prey, competition, challenge. When you don't understand those signals, you're basically speaking a language you don't know and hoping you don't accidentally insult someone with teeth, claws, or 1,000 pounds of muscle. What makes it dangerous is false confidence. Videos, zoos, pets, nature documentaries, they all create the illusion that animals are predictable or chill. In reality, most attacks happen because a human ignored warning signs they didn't recognize: posture changes, ear position, stillness, sudden silence. By the time it looks scary to us, the animal has already decided. And animals don't escalate gradually to teach lessons. They escalate to end the problem. There's no concept of "I'll just scare them a bit." If they commit fully. The irony is that respect is the safest behavior. Distance, observation, letting them exist without inserting yourself into their space. Nature isn't cruel, but it's not forgiving either. Thinking you're the smartest thing in the environment is how people get hurt. Knowing you're not is how you walk away alive. Story 3. Water doesn't threaten you. It doesn't warn you. It doesn't escalate. It just exists. And if you make one bad mistake, it lets physics finish the job. Slippery footing, cold shock, exhaustion, a cramp, a current you didn't see, one breath taken at the wrong time. None of it has to be dramatic to be fatal. What makes water especially dangerous is how fast panic takes over. Inhaling even a little water can flip the brain into survival mode. Coordination vanishes. Judgment collapses. People fight the water instead of working with it, and that burns energy they don't have. Add alcohol and you've removed the last layer of self-awareness. Rivers don't care how strong you are. Lakes don't care how good a swimmer you think you are. The ocean doesn't care how much fun you were having 10 seconds ago. They're not malicious, but they're completely indifferent. That's why the old rules matter. Respect distance, respect conditions, respect your limits. Wear a life jacket, stay sober, pay attention, not because you're afraid, but because you understand that nature doesn't negotiate. Water can give you some of the best days of your life. It can also take it without hesitation. Remembering both at the same time is how you come home. Story 4. When you're exhausted, your brain doesn't just feel slow. It is slow. Reaction time drops, attention narrows, judgment gets sloppy. Microsleeps happen without warning, where your brain shuts off for a few seconds even though your eyes are open. At highway speeds, that's the length of a football field driven with no one home. What makes it especially dangerous is that tired people think they're fine. Fatigue lies. You don't feel drunk, so you assume you're in control, even as your ability to process information is quietly collapsing. Studies have shown that severe sleep deprivation impairs driving as much as, or worse than, alcohol. But there's no stigma, no checkpoints, no social pressure to stop. And unlike being drunk, being tired often feels unavoidable. Work, stress, long drives, obligations. So people push through, convincing themselves they just need music, caffeine, or fresh air. None of that fixes a brain that needs sleep. The road doesn't care why you're tired. Other drivers don't get a warning. One lapse is enough. Treat fatigue like impairment, not inconvenience. If you don't drive drunk, you shouldn't drive. Pull over. Rest. Switch drivers. Arrive late if you have to. Being alive and late is infinitely better than never arriving at all. Story 5. Mixing cleaning chemicals isn't just a bad idea. It's chemistry doing exactly what it's supposed to do, just against you. Bleach mixed with ammonia creates chloramine gas. Bleach mixed with acids, like vinegar or toilet bowl cleaner, releases chlorine gas. Both are toxic, both attack your lungs and eyes, and both can incapacitate you before you realize what's happening. The danger is how normal it feels right up until it isn't. You're just cleaning, you smell something sharp, your eyes burn, you cough, panic hits, breathing gets hard. In a small bathroom or poorly ventilated space, people have collapsed in minutes. Some end up with permanent lung damage. Some don't make it out. What makes it worse is that labels don't always scream this clearly, and people assume more clean means more chemicals. It doesn't. It means more reactions. Simple rule: never mix cleaners. Ever. One product at a time. Rinse surfaces between uses. Ventilate. If something smells wrong, leave immediately and get fresh air. Cleaning shouldn't be dangerous, but chemistry doesn't care about intention. Respect it, or it'll remind you why you should. Story 6. Shrugging off building and electrical codes. They were all written because people got injured or died. When I was in school for welding, I had an incredible teacher, and the thing that has stuck with me for nearly a decade is that OSHA rules are literally written in blood. Having him as a teacher completely changed the way I approach and think about projects. Welding, woodworking, vehicle repair, seriously everything. Just think about what you plan on doing and think about what could go horribly wrong, and then approach what you need doing. Story 7. Selfie with a wild animal. I live in a mid-sized city but next to a nature park that is full of deer. People mistakenly think that vegetarian prey animal equals safe. Saw a couple of folks square up with a buck that was snorting at them with full eye contact and moved away before I was collateral damage. They thought it was funny it was sneezing. No. I wish I could find the post to quote it, but predator animals will attack humans if they're starving, but generally leave people alone. Prey animals will mess up everything in a 3-mile radius if they get scared, and everything scares prey animals. Story 8. Skateboarding and skating and biking without a helmet. Concussions can cause irreparable brain damage. My child fell off a penny board at 13, lost consciousness for about 10 minutes, got up and carried on to school, didn't say anything. Went to class that day and the next. She started slurring her words and then couldn't walk, literally dragging her legs. We went to urgent care and the doctor called another doctor. And that one went and got another doctor. We had no idea what was wrong. The third doctor said, "Let's go back to Monday. What did you eat?" and went over everything. That's when we all found out she fell. She caught a pebble and spun herself to fall on her backpack to avoid messing up her new clothes. Her brain was swollen and pressing against her skull. She had a schedule change and the new teachers just thought she was quiet. Never been a quiet one. An entire week in bed, no TV, no phone, low noise in the household, no schoolwork, no reading, nothing, per doctor orders. Her entire personality changed. What she would eat changed. She was all of a sudden allergic to chocolate. Had it her whole life just fine, and then hives and itchy throat from it. We thought she was messing with us. Wild and scary crap. Story 9. Broadcasting your location turns your life into a live feed for people you don't actually know. Friends of friends, exes, strangers, creeps, anyone who screenshots once and remembers later. You're telling the world where you sleep, where you hang out, when you're not home, and how predictable your routines are. What makes it especially risky is how casual it feels. Snap Map, Instagram stories, check-ins. It's framed as social, fun, normal, but predators don't need a lot of information. They need timing and certainty. Location sharing gives them both. So do burglars, so do stalkers, so do people who don't have good intentions and never announce themselves. And the worst part, you don't get feedback when it's being misused. Nothing bad happens until something does. By then, the damage is already done. Privacy isn't paranoia. It's basic self-preservation. You don't need everyone to know where you are in real time. The people who genuinely need to know can be told directly. Convenience is cheap, safety is not. If there's one rule worth keeping in the digital age, it's this. Don't make it easy for strangers to find you, especially when you're just trying to live your life. Story 10. When people from countries that don't have an endemic of rabies, such as US, Canada, and UK, go to countries like India, Morocco, etc., and go near dogs and let puppies nip them without thinking anything bad can happen, because they are so cute, and canine rabies is eliminated in their home countries, so they don't understand the true danger they are putting themselves in. They act like how they would if they were in their own country where it is safe to pet dogs. A lady from the UK got rabies this way when she was nipped by a puppy and just washed her hands, didn't get the vaccine, and ended up dying viciously months later. Rabies is not the way you want to go. Story 11. Please stop touching brightly colored ocean creatures. I am going to die of an embolism the next time I see an influencer holding a blue-ringed octopus or the bright blue nudibranchs in their bare hands. Related, nurse sharks have the nickname puppies of the sea. because they're pretty placid and unlikely to attack humans when left alone. It doesn't mean you can go to pat them for your Instagram reel. They're still a shark. Nothing in nature pats things from a different species. As a show of affection, if you pat the shark, you're going to get bit. Sincerely, an Australian regularly asking herself, "What the hell?" after watching YouTube shorts or Instagram reels. Story 12. Antibiotics aren't harmless just-in-case meds. They're specific tools meant for bacterial infections, not colds, flus, random soreness, or feeling off. Taking them unnecessarily doesn't just do nothing, it actively causes harm. They wipe out beneficial gut bacteria, mess with digestion and immunity, and can trigger side effects that last long after the pills are gone. The bigger danger is resistance. Every time antibiotics are used when they're not needed, you're training bacteria to survive them. Over time, the drugs stop working, not just for you, but for everyone. That's how we end up with infections that used to be trivial, becoming life-threatening again. What makes it worse is how casual it's treated. People pressure doctors overprescribe to save time, leftover pills get shared, courses aren't finished. All of it nudges us closer to a world where routine surgery and minor infections become genuinely dangerous. Antibiotics are one of the biggest medical breakthroughs we ever had. Treating them like painkillers is how we lose them. If a doctor says you don't need them, that's not neglect, that's restraint. And restraint, here, is the difference between medicine that keeps working and medicine that becomes useless right when you actually need it. Story 13. Murky water is one of those dangers people underestimate until it's too late. When you can't see through the water, you don't know what you're stepping on, what you're swimming over, or what's moving toward you. Sudden drop-offs, submerged logs, rocks, fishing lines, debris, broken glass, even discarded traps. None of it announces itself. One bad step and you're injured, tangled, or pulled under before you realize what happened. The real danger is disorientation. In unclear water, panic escalates faster because your brain can't orient itself visually. If you hit your head, cramp, or get caught on something, you don't have the feedback that helps you react calmly. Add cold shock or fatigue and things unravel quickly. And then there are currents. Rivers and tidal areas can look calm on the surface while moving fast underneath. You can be swept sideways or down without ever seeing the force that grabbed you. By the time you feel it, you're already fighting physics. Murky water isn't automatically deadly, but it removes your margin for error. You lose information, and water is unforgiving when you guess wrong. If you can't see the bottom or what's ahead, slow down or don't go in at all. Curiosity and confidence aren't worth trading for a situation you can't read until it's already hurting you. Water doesn't need to look dangerous to be dangerous. Story 14. Driving, swimming, playing, using water vehicles like boats and kayaks in floodwaters. I know it looks just like the oceans or rivers you are used to, but floodwaters are vastly more dangerous. For the following reasons: the chemicals in sewage, the various objects that were not previously in water that are either hidden beneath the water and will flip a boat and cause you to become stuck in the water and drown you, or come hurtling downstream to whack you nice and hard. See containers, portaloos. There are all kinds of objects and built environments, like bridges or manholes, that create hydrology that will suck any object in and kill you. Countless people get sucked into manholes and under bridges and drown in floodwaters. Floods exist because suddenly a massive amount of water arrives. This creates very dense, fast-moving water that is not like what you would casually swim or paddle in. And if it doesn't look like it's moving fast, that's because there's no obstacles to create whitewater. And I promise you it's moving fast, just hidden. In New Zealand, people seem to be particularly naive about the dangers of floodwaters and treat them like a fun day at a water park. Story 15. AI is one of those dangers that doesn't announce itself as dangerous. It's not evil, sentient, or plotting, but it's powerful, fast, and increasingly embedded in systems that affect real lives. Decisions about hiring, credit, policing, healthcare, content, even war are being nudged or automated by tools most people don't understand and can't challenge. And unlike older technologies, AI doesn't just do things, it optimizes. It learns what works, not what's right. The risk isn't a rogue machine uprising, it's gradual abdication. Humans trust outputs they can't explain. Institutions hiding behind the model decided. Accountability evaporates because no one feels fully responsible. Biases getting scaled instead of questioned. What makes it especially dangerous is how helpful it is. Convenience lowers resistance. Once something saves time or money, it becomes hard to say no, even if the long-term effects are unclear. And because AI improves quietly, society adapts before it debates. AI isn't the problem by itself. The problem is deploying it faster than our ethics, laws, and attention can keep up. And then acting surprised when power concentrates even more, decisions become opaque, and human judgment gets treated as the weak link. Like a lot of modern risks, it won't feel like a sudden catastrophe. It'll feel like normal life until you realize how much control you handed over without really noticing. Story 16. Sleep apnea isn't just loud snoring or bad sleep. It's repeated oxygen deprivation, dozens, sometimes hundreds of times a night. The brain is briefly starved of oxygen and jolted awake just enough to keep you breathing. You don't remember it, but your body does. Night after night, that stress response hammers the cardiovascular system. That's why it's linked to heart attacks, strokes, high blood pressure, arrhythmias, and insulin resistance. Your body is basically being told it's in danger while you're supposed to be recovering. Add chronic fatigue on top of that, impaired judgment, microsleeps, depression, accidents, and it becomes a full-spectrum risk, not just a sleep issue. What makes it worse is how normalized it is. People joke about snoring. Partners adapt. The person affected often just thinks they're bad at sleeping or getting older. Meanwhile, the damage accumulates quietly over years. The scary part is how treatable it often is. CPAP, oral appliances, weight changes, surgery in some cases, interventions that dramatically reduce risk. But they only help if the problem is taken seriously in the first place. Sleep apnea isn't just stealing rest, it's stealing oxygen, years, and safety, and it deserves way more attention than it gets. Story 17. On a bike, you're exposed. No steel frame, no airbags, no crumple zone. Just your body and whatever you hit, or whatever hits you. It doesn't take recklessness either. A distracted driver, loose gravel, oil on the road, a car that didn't see you. At highway speed, physics doesn't care who is at fault. And riding without a helmet takes that risk and multiplies it. A helmet isn't about looking cool or skilled, it's about basic survival. The head is fragile. Even a low-speed fall can mean traumatic brain injury, permanent disability, or death. Helmets don't make you invincible, but they turn fatal accidents into survivable ones, with shocking consistency. That's not opinion, that's data. What's especially grim is how normalized the risk becomes. Riders get comfortable. Near misses get shrugged off. I've been riding for years, but experience doesn't stop the unexpected. It just makes you forget how thin the line is. Motorcycles can be exhilarating. They can also be unforgiving in a way cars aren't. Riding is a constant gamble that nothing goes wrong today. Wearing a helmet doesn't make you paranoid. It means you understand that the road doesn't offer second chances, and you'd like to keep the one life you've got. Story 18. Burning charcoal, propane grills, camp stoves, or generators indoors, or even in garages or near open windows, produces carbon monoxide. It's colorless, odorless. You don't feel it coming. People get sleepy, confused, lie down for a minute, and never wake up. Entire families die quietly while trying to stay warm or cook food during outages. What makes it especially dangerous is how reasonable it feels at the moment. It's cold, the power's out, you just want heat or a hot meal. The flame looks clean, nothing smells wrong. By the time symptoms show up, headache, dizziness, nausea, it may already be too late to react clearly. This happens every year. Storms, blackouts, hurricanes, winter freezes. Same pattern, same tragedy. Survivors always say the same thing. We didn't think it would be a problem. Rule is simple and non-negotiable. Never burn anything indoors that isn't specifically designed and invented for indoor use. Ever. Use generators outside, far from doors and windows. Have working carbon monoxide detectors. Fire gives warmth. Carbon monoxide gives no warning. Outages are stressful, but turning a temporary inconvenience into a permanent loss is how this danger wins. Story 19. Misinformation doesn't spread because people are stupid. It spreads because it's engineered to travel faster than truth. It's simpler, more emotional, more certain. It triggers fear, anger, identity, belonging. Things the brain prioritizes over accuracy. By the time a correction exists, the false version has already lodged itself into thousands or millions of minds. What makes it dangerous is the speed to belief gap. Sharing takes one tap, verifying takes effort, and platforms reward the tap, not the pause. Algorithms don't ask, is this true? They ask, does this keep people engaged? Outrage and certainty outperform nuance. Every time once misinformation lands, it doesn't just sit there. It reshapes how people interpret new information. Everything becomes filtered through it. Corrections feel like attacks. Doubt feels like betrayal. At that point, facts stop functioning as facts and start functioning as signals of which side you're on. And because it's social, it feels trusted. Someone I know shared this. That's all it takes. The scary part isn't that lies exist. It's that we've built systems where lies can outrun reality, and where slowing down long enough to think feels like falling behind. Story 20. Plastic isn't just around our food anymore, it's in it. Microplastics in water, salt, seafood, produce, meat, even the air we breathe. Packaging sheds, bottles leach. Heat and friction break everything down into particles small enough to cross into blood, organs, even the placenta. This isn't hypothetical. We found plastic in human lungs, brains, and breast milk. What makes it especially disturbing is that we don't fully understand the long-term effects yet, and we're already saturated. Hormone disruption, inflammation, metabolic issues, fertility problems. Signals are there, but the exposure is so widespread that isolating cause and effect is almost impossible, which conveniently slows regulation. And like everything else, it's treated as a trade-off. Convenience over caution, cheap over safe. We built an entire food system around materials that were never meant to interact with biology long-term, then acted surprised when biology started absorbing them. You can't realistically avoid it. That's what makes it infuriating. This isn't about personal choice. It's about a system that wrapped our food supply in synthetic waste and called it progress. Plastic was supposed to make life easier. Instead, it became permanent. And now it's inside us whether we agreed to that or not. Story 21. Hiking alone. As an active person in my 40s that has gone hiking, cycling, fishing, etc. alone, I wholeheartedly agree with this. Last May, I slipped on a rock in Glacier National Park. I fell about 5. When I fell, my knee hit another rock and exploded my patella into 13 pieces. I fell into the river that I was walking near. The snow melted the water and I went into shock. Luckily, I had friends that pulled me out, carried me to the car that was only about 100 yards away, and drove me to an ER an hour away. If I were alone, I have very little doubt that I would have died. It was a teeny little slip and fall. I'm a skateboarder and a mountain biker and have hopped freight trains around the country, and I'm certified in wilderness first aid and grew up hiking and doing activities much more dangerous than just walking on the shore near a river. I hear about people hiking and climbing mountains alone all the time. It's a potential tragedy waiting to happen. I love my alone time and solitary walks in the woods, but I have a newfound insight into just how fragile our bodies are and how close to death we walk by just doing everyday things. Story 22. Using a phone while driving isn't just multitasking, it's voluntarily blinding yourself at speed. Your eyes leave the road, your hands leave control, and your brain switches context. Even a few seconds is enough to miss a brake light, a pedestrian, a cyclist, or a curve. At highway speeds, that's the length of multiple cars traveled on autopilot. What makes it worse than drunk driving in some ways is how normalized it is. People don't feel impaired. They tell themselves it's just a glance, just a reply, just a notification. But reaction times drop, situational awareness collapses, and the brain literally stops processing what's happening in front of you. You're driving, but not really there. And unlike many risks, this one doesn't just endanger the person taking it. Everyone around them pays the price. Families were wiped out because someone couldn't wait. Lives altered forever for a message that wasn't urgent, a scroll that wasn't necessary. Phones are designed to demand attention. Roads demand it too. You only get to choose one. Putting the phone down isn't about being perfect or paranoid. It's about recognizing that a moment of convenience isn't worth someone else's life or your own. Story 23. No one accumulates that level of wealth in a vacuum. It comes from systems that allow extreme extraction, underpaid labor, environmental damage, political influence, tax avoidance, monopolies. You don't get billions by creating value alone, you get it by capturing far more than you give back. At that scale, wealth stops being a personal achievement and starts being evidence of imbalance. What makes it especially corrosive is the power that comes with it. Billionaires don't just buy things, they shape laws, markets, media narratives, and public policy to protect their position. Their interests get treated as inevitable. Their opinions get amplified. Meanwhile, the harm caused by hoarding that much wealth, underfunded schools, healthcare, infrastructure, climate action, gets framed as unfortunate but unavoidable. And the myth persists that they're uniquely brilliant or deserving, as if intelligence or hard work naturally leads to owning more resources than entire nations. That story isn't harmless. It trains people to accept inequality as merit and suffering as failure. A healthy society doesn't produce gods in human form. It distributes power, limits accumulation, and understands that past a certain point, wealth isn't a reward. It's a liability to democracy, ethics, and shared survival. The existence of billionaires isn't inspiring. It's a warning sign that the system stopped working for most people a long time ago. Story 24. A lot of people move through the world like they're invincible, extras-proofed by plot armor. They step into traffic assuming cars will stop. They drive like consequences only happen to other people. Phones out, earbuds in, drifting across lanes or streets, as if reality will politely pause for them. What's dangerous about main character syndrome isn't arrogance. It's disbelief. They don't truly register that mass, speed, and reaction time don't negotiate. A car doesn't care if you're late, distracted, righteous, or in a hurry. It can't tell the intent of the accident. And once momentum takes over, regret doesn't factor in. The really grim part is that this mindset doesn't just endanger the person living it. It puts everyone else in impossible positions. Drivers forced into split-second choices, pedestrians paying for someone else's assumption that nothing bad will happen today. Survivorship bias feeds it. People think, I've done this 100 times and I'm fine, without realizing that luck isn't a skill. It only has to fail once. Being cautious isn't a weakness or fear. It's understanding that you are not the center of the universe, just a fragile body moving through one that doesn't bend for narrative. Reality doesn't know you're the main character, and it doesn't offer rewrites. Story 25. Microwaving eggs in any form. There has been a hack going around about how to poach eggs in the microwave. Bad idea. What happens is the water in the egg superheats, and when you open the microwave and take the bowl out, the egg suddenly explodes. And, because you're poaching the egg in a bowl of hot water, the egg explosion forces all the scalding water out of the bowl onto your face. Story 26. Vaping got marketed as harmless, clean, even healthy compared to smoking. And teens bought it because it doesn't feel dangerous at the moment. No smoke, no coughing fit, no immediate punishment. But that's exactly how it slips under the radar. You're inhaling heated chemicals, ultrafine particles, heavy metals from coils, lead, nickel, chromium, straight into your lungs. Not occasionally. The problem isn't just nicotine addiction, though that alone rewires developing brains and wrecks attention, mood, and impulse control. It's that vaping is too new for us to fully understand the long-term damage, and early signals are already bad. Lung inflammation, cardiovascular stress, immune suppression, unknown cancer risk. History should have taught us something here. We were told cigarettes were fine too, until decades later. What makes it worse is how casually it's treated. Kids vaping in bathrooms, classrooms, bedrooms like it's nothing. Flavors, disposables, constant access. No one thinks they're doing harm because the harm hasn't fully shown itself yet. But lungs aren't designed for metal dust and chemical aerosols. The real danger isn't just what vaping does now. It's what we'll only understand years from now, when it's too late for the people who grew up breathing it like air. Story 27. Treating Google's AI overview like a source instead of a summary generator is a real hazard, especially for medical, legal, and money stuff. Those overviews are designed to be fast and confident, not careful. They can mash together multiple pages, misunderstand context, or pull from junk that looks credible at a glance. And because it's presented right at the top, people stop there. They don't click. They don't check dates. They don't notice when the source is a forum post, satire, or outright fiction. The output sounds clean, so it feels trustworthy even when it's wrong. The most dangerous failure mode is when it's almost right, like a medication dose that's slightly off, a legal rule missing one exception, a financial tip that ignores risk. That's the kind of error that gets people hurt because it passes the sniff test. And yeah, I did my research is different when the research is a screenshot of an AI box. Real research means reading the underlying sources, cross-checking, and knowing when something is high stakes enough to ask a professional. A good rule: AI summaries are fine for orientation, not decisions. Use them to get vocabulary and a starting point, then verify with primary sources or trusted institutions, especially if the outcome could cost you health, freedom, or money. Because the scariest misinformation isn't the wild conspiracy stuff. It's the polished, plausible answer that's wrong in exactly the way that matters. Story 28. The continued attempt to produce artificial superintelligence. There's no reason to think that the current methods for growing AIs from training data can't do it, but nobody knows how to make AI care about people. This is called the alignment problem, and AI researchers have been working on it for over a decade, with very little progress. This is what the CEOs of OpenAI, Anthropic, and xAI are talking about when they publicly stated that their future products might end all life on Earth. There's not really consensus on this right now, obviously, but there are absolutely reasons to think LLMs will not achieve general intelligence. And in fact, a lot of researchers, including some of the ones who developed LLM technologies, think they won't. It is mostly the industry guys who are fully sold on the possibility, and they have an obvious conflict of interest. You know, some of them don't believe it, exactly because they are pushing to advance the tech while also talking about this risk. If you thought it was real, and likely you would not do that. Story 29. When lifeguards leave, it's not just about hours, it's about conditions. Tides change, currents strengthen, visibility drops, temperatures fall, and help goes from immediate to non-existent. Rip currents don't clock out when the sun sets. Neither do sudden drop-offs, cold shock, or exhaustion. What makes it dangerous is how normal it feels. The beach looks the same. The water looks calm. You think, I'll just go in real quick. But if something goes wrong, cramp, panic, rip, wave to the head, there's no one scanning the water, no one with a board, no one trained to spot trouble early. By the time someone notices, it's often too late. Alcohol makes this 10 times worse. So does overconfidence. The ocean doesn't care that you've swum here before or that it's usually fine. It only takes one bad minute. Lifeguards aren't there to ruin your fun. They're there because the ocean kills quietly and efficiently when no one's watching. If they've gone home, that's the ocean telling you the margin for error is gone too. Story 30. This one is way more dangerous than people think, and it keeps killing people for the dumbest reason. It looks harmless. Sand is heavy and unstable. When you dig a deep hole, especially near the waterline, the walls can collapse instantly. No warning, no slow crumble. 1 second you're standing, the next you're buried under hundreds of pounds of wet sand that sets like concrete. You can't wiggle. You can't expand your chest to breathe. People suffocate in minutes while others stand right there, unable to dig them out fast enough. What makes it terrifying is how fast it happens and how strong the illusion of safety is. It's just sand. Kids do it. You've done it before. But beaches shift constantly with tides and waves, and water seeping in weakens everything underneath you. Even a hole deeper than waist height is enough to trap and kill someone. Rescue is brutal. Shovels often make it worse. Heavy equipment takes time. People panic. Survivors talk about hearing the person screaming and then not. If the hole is deeper than your knees, it's already flirting with danger. Anything deeper than your waist is a gamble with awful odds. The ocean doesn't need to touch you to kill you. Sometimes the beach itself does the job. Story 31. Botox is literally botulinum toxin, one of the most potent neurotoxins known. In pure form, it's absurdly lethal, and the only reason it's used medically or cosmetically at all is because it's diluted to microscopic doses and injected in very controlled ways. That distinction gets lost when it's treated like a casual beauty treatment you grab between errands. What's unsettling isn't that it exists. It's that something derived from a toxin that deadly has been normalized, commodified, and marketed as routine. People forget it works by paralyzing muscles. That's the mechanism. When done incorrectly, or when it migrates, it can cause swallowing problems, breathing issues, facial paralysis, nerve damage. Rare, yes, but real. The broader issue is how comfort with risk creeps in. Everyone's doing it, it's safe, it's FDA approved. All technically true, but they flatten the reality that this is a powerful biological agent being used for convenience and aesthetics, not survival. It's not fear-mongering to respect the fact that some tools are dangerous by nature, even when handled well. Normalization doesn't make something harmless. It just makes people stop thinking about what it actually is. Story 32. People treat railroad crossings like suggestions. Beat the lights, go around the barriers, assume the train will slow down. It won't. It can't. A fully loaded train weighs thousands of tons and needs well over a mile to stop. By the time you see it, the outcome is already decided. What makes trains especially deadly is how quiet and deceptive they are. They look slow, they sound distant. People misjudge speed constantly. And unlike car crashes, there's no crumple zone, no second chance, no maybe I'll walk away. If a train hits you, survival is unlikely. If it doesn't kill you outright, the injuries are usually catastrophic. There's also zero margin for error. Cars can swerve, drivers can brake. Trains are locked to a track, committed to their path, and completely indifferent to what's in the way. The conductor sees you, but they're just as helpless as you are. Every warning sign at a crossing exists because someone ignored it once and died. If the lights are flashing, if the barrier is down, if you hear a horn, stop, wait. Being late is annoying, being dead is permanent. Trains don't forgive impatience.